Hey everybody, this is Vril. Welcome back to Extended Timeline, World War II. Now it is July of 1985, and in the last episode we had Germany invading Belgium, and they took over a few provinces, leaving Belgium to just 3 or 4 provinces here. We also had a war between Poland and Hungary. This was actually the second war that they've had. Hungary had previously done a lot of aggressive expansion, taken over quite a few provinces in the former areas of Yugoslavia, including Croatia, Bosnia, Serbia, and the Polish had declared a punitive war against them in another episode, and they lost out on that one. Now they declared another war, and they ended up taking a few provinces from Hungary and giving some provinces back to Croatia and Serbia, and actually bringing back Bosnia-Herzegovina completely. So let's have a look. We also had, over in the east, we had the Americans winning a war finally against the Japanese. They took over a few provinces here in the Philippines, as we're calling the American Indonesia, apparently. So we also had, even bigger, we had the Chinese taking the rest of Manchukuo, and then declaring war once again against the Japanese for, I think, Taiwan. So let's look at the armies of the world. We have the US, followed by China, and the rebels are here. We'll go into more of that in a moment. The Soviet Union and Germany. So let's look at the wars that are going on. We've got the Chinese against the Japanese, as we discussed. We also have the Italians' Somaliland reconquest in British Somaliland. Yemen is on the side of the Italians. And we also have a war going on in India, just between some Indian kingdoms. Now, the Japanese here, I'm going to go ahead and start time, but the Japanese here have a bunch of reactionary forces. These reactionaries are preventing them from westernizing, actually. So the Japanese, if we look at the technology, are actually Asian technology groups still. The Chinese over here are Western technology groups. So this is going to go pretty bad for them, keeping them in the... They were trying to westernize, and the reactionaries did not like that. So not only are they being invaded by China, they have rebel groups all over the place. Let me bump up the speed now that we've got all of the intro covered for this episode, and see how this goes. We've got Russian separatists also up here, so it'll be interesting to see. The Chinese are allied with the Soviets, but the Soviets are not in this war. They just have territorial claims all over what is called Japanese Korea here, for whatever reason. Now, I'd be curious to see when the Chinese, I'm assuming they're going to win this war, they'll probably take Taiwan, I would think. But we'll see. They might make an independent Korea. We'll see there. And I'll be curious also if they give back some territory. Do they take this territory for themselves, or do they give it back to the Soviet Union? We will see. Upcoming, most likely. So let's head on over to Somaliland. Now, this war, the Italians and Yemen, their allies, have occupied some land here, but the war score is not going in the favor of Italian Somaliland at the moment, because the British and their allies are blockading a ton of ports here. So you can just see even British Nigeria just defeated the Italians in a naval battle there. So the Italians are kind of blocked off from moving any troops into African areas for the moment. So that's kind of going poorly for any backup that might be needed in Italian Somaliland. But the Italians do have this 3-star general. They have so many 3-star generals. We discussed that in previous episodes. Naval battle there between Italian Somaliland and British Somaliland. French sitting there watching. So they need to watch some of these wars and not get involved for a little while. They've been lost out on all of their colonies throughout this entire series, and, well, not all their colonies, but a lot of their colonies. So let's see. Japanese reactionaries occupying everything in Japan, so that should... I was originally thinking it might be a change of government or something. There it goes. So at least at that point, even though the Japanese are going to stay Eastern Tech Group for a while longer, at least they're going to be able to rebuild their army. So let's see, we can actually look at the technology group. So they are, yeah, look at that, diplomatic tech is pretty bad. their admin tech and military tech is competitive, but that diplomatic tech is going to hurt them in the long run unless they can westernize, and obviously we know that they're not going to westernize anytime soon. They've actually put some forces in Taiwan, so we'll see if the Chinese actually do move any of their forces. I think that the Japanese do have a larger navy here, so I mean, I don't think we're going to be able to see it in here without trying to search for it, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. Looking at what was in their military forces, let me get back to our actual war screen in case we need it. So yeah, looks like one province left, and that was taken by the Chinese. So we'll see if the Chinese actually move their forces. Like I was just saying, that I don't think they have much of a navy, so they might not be able to capture any of the Japanese mainland, or even Taiwan for that matter. So we'll see what happens though. Check out what's going on in the Somaliland wars here. And that Indian Kingdom war there looks like it has just ended. We'll see if any other wars fire off. Maybe in South America or maybe North America. We will see. Looks like the British have arrived in British or Italian Somaliland, and actually, did that war just end? Yes, it did. I think it was kind of a draw. I don't think any territory exchanged. They do have claims here. That might have... Did they just... Yeah, well, I'll have to check in the... between episodes if they actually ended up taking that. I check between episodes sometimes to be able to tell if that actually did exchange sides. So let's head back on over to the China and Japan. See what's going on here. Looks like the Japanese are starting to rebuild their armies. That's a step in the right direction for them. I mean, they've been in the top 15 or top 5 to top 10. Always on that front page on the armies of the world. But this is the first episode that they were not even in that list because of all those rebel groups. So yeah, you can see the Japanese navy here is rather large. So, and we've got a little Chinese navy there. So basically the Japanese can blockade the Chinese. Looks like the Chinese taking over a northern island here in Japan. I think that is an island that the Russians actually do want, so we will see. No other wars are fired off. So we'll just continue watching this one. Yeah, I mean, if the Chinese can... Here's a Japanese, or a Chinese navy here that's a little bit larger. So they do have a decent-sized navy. Probably, though... Although, what is it in the game? Is diplomatic tech... Is that for navy? So the Japanese, I would think they would have had a good navy, but if the diplomatic tech... Just off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure diplomatic tech affects your naval forces, so that would probably be bad for the Japanese there. Nothing else has fired off. It's kind of a quiet world other than this war going on right now. I know we had some... I don't remember if it was last episode or the episode... Maybe a couple episodes ago where we actually had a period... for the very first time of no wars firing off. Which was the, first time we've had that, so. Are the Soviets, did they join this? No, they have not. They're just, because they have some sort of military access across Chinese lands here, so they're moving across. Or maybe they're just setting up what they want. Maybe they're going to set up a invasion of Japan. I mean, Japan is pretty weak right now, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Americans also declare war against them. So here we go. The Chinese are now invading Taiwan here, so they were able to get some forces across the Taiwan Strait here. And Taiwan Strait is not an actual strait in the game. I would think once they capture that, I wonder if they'll be bold enough to actually move into mainland Japan. That could be pretty bad for the Japanese because they're just rebuilding their army. That'd be very bad for them. Okay. Here's our Netherlands. Used to be called Dutch Indonesia. Now it's just called the Netherlands because this is all the Netherlands has, so. Okay, we are into 1988 now. No new wars. Just watching this one unfold. Let's see if we can maybe bump up the speed to 4. I don't want to spend... Yeah, I could get my PC chugging a little bit when you go up to 4 like that. At least, certainly when I'm recording my time lapses, I go up to the maximum speed, but without us actually looking at the units or anything, doesn't matter if things are skipping a little bit. And that is what it is. So I'm surprised this war has not ended, though. So the Chinese have occupied all of Taiwan there. War score is up to 42. Wow, so we'll see what they end up getting, but not going well for the Japanese at all. Okay, so the Chinese have landed in Japan here, southern Japan. Japanese were able to beat them off there, though. So that... With that note, I wonder if the Chinese will want to just peace out in this war. We will see. I mean, they're not going to be able to do much if they're not going to land, 100k with at least having a leader. They're not going to be able to occupy anything in Japan here. Okay, we've got a couple against the war against the Japanese here. So the Soviets have added on here and are going to try to reconquest here. I think it's one of these islands. Actually, no, it's got to be one of just these areas here for Japanese Korea. So we'll see how that goes. And we have a Nigerian-Malian war. So Nigeria and Mauritania against Mali, Guinea, and Liberia there. Let's just head on over there, check that out, and I'll go into diplomatic view so you guys can see what the forces are here. A lot of you guys request that. So who declared this war again? Nigeria and Mauritania on the same side. Looks like a large stack here. That's Mali, though there was some of their allies, Guinea and Liberia, in there, so they just won a battle, though. I think against mostly Nigerian forces. Let's head back on over to China, though. I know we've been watching that a lot, but I want to see what comes out from that. Okay, we'll switch back over here. So I wonder what they actually want here. Is it going to tell us? Yeah, I don't think it will while they're at war. Not in the diplomatic map like it would otherwise. Was that an imperialist war? Yes, it was an imperialist war. Okay. Knock up the speed back up to 3 and slow it down a little bit. So we've got Mali is their army here in Niger, and we've got Niger occupying parts of Mali here as well. And we have a British-Australian war for independence. British Australia backed up by the USA. Netherlands. A bunch of other colonies, including Gold Coast. Against Great Britain. Anybody interesting? Mexico. So that'll be interesting. The Americans there. And the Soviet Union. Thailand as well. So let me quickly look at diplomatic view. So I would expect for are the Canadians in this war? No, they're not. The Americans are going to flood over into Mexico here on the side of the Australians. So We did have a previous independence war with the Australians here, but they did not win that one, but they might have a shot this time. Netherlands are on their side. A lot of places here. So Soviets are now at war with both the Japanese and the Americans through this war here. Okay, well, let me get back in here. So this war is still not ended. Looks like there was a naval battle of some sort, though, here. Or was that... Yeah, that was a naval battle. Okay. Let's check Mali real quick. Still going on. Okay, so actually that ended. And... let me switch. Okay, so Niger lost some land to Mali. There. Okay. They still have some, obviously cores on this area. Okay, and let's head on over to the Americas so that we can see, yes, the Americans are moving into Mexico. Sure why, but the Americans did not have their forces completely together, and it looks like they're building some new units in their land here. And it actually looks like the Americans, I bet they're allied with the Canadians, so they've been able to move through and are sieging Newfoundland here. That is held by the British. Okay, well, actually, let's quickly look at... Okay, so we've got... Nehemiah Talbot is the President of the United States. Interesting name there. We've got... who's in Canada? We've got Octavius Beresford. Okay. Just go around the world and look at, like, Great Britain is... Frederick Augustus of Windsor. Okay. Alright. I think Queen Elizabeth must have died then. President Auguste Bernard in France. King Caesar de Nibla. I'm going to mispronounce a lot of these. Karl Albrecht Schumann in Germany. Italians. Empress Romano. Okay. We've got Poland. Stanislaw Lubomirski. Okay. The Turks with their President Numan Karamanli, something like that. And actually, let's look over here in China. I'm assuming they're still the socialist state, the chairman. Chairman Yajun there, and apparently there's communist revolutionaries in Japan. The Japanese are actually a regency council right now, still an empire though. The Regency of Yoshimasa the First. It's 11 years old, okay. And it looks like we've got another French reconquest here in Laos. And we've got another Cameroonian reconquest here. They're allied with the Italians against Niger, Madagascar, and Mauritania. It's a lot going on here. This Chinese reconquest here in Taiwan's going very well. And actually the British-Australian War, probably because of the Americans. Well, British-Australia is... yeah, blockades going on as well, okay. That's, yeah, so you can see British Australia is occupying some of Mexico here. The Mexicans' army is going to be completely shattered. Americans probably taking some territory. No, they're still sieging here. Newfoundland. What's going on actually in Australia? I don't think anything's going to be going on there. Can't imagine that the war will be fought actually in Australia there. I can't believe that Chinese war is still not ended. I would think that their war exhaustion would be very, very high. So... this was the Cameroonian reconquest here against Niger. So the Italians are occupying a bunch of areas for Cameroon. Don't remember if the Italians actually helped them gain independence in the first place. Have to go back to the very beginning of this series to see what happened there. So it does look like we're out of time for this episode. I hope you enjoyed this one, and please consider hitting the like button if you did, as it really helps out the channel. So I'll see you guys next time.